You've been told that you need more motivation, that you need another secret, another morning routine, another shot of adrenaline to get started. But I say this, you don't need more hype, you need rhythm. Motivation is cheap. Anyone can be inspired for a moment, but that moment will pass. Rhythm, however, rhythm is eternal. Rhythm is what happens when a man decides he will show up no matter what, not for applause, not for credit, but because it is who he has become. You don't need another secret. You need structure. The man with structure doesn't need to chase opportunity. He attracts it. While others seek the next tip, he builds systems. While they wander, he works. This is not a message for the man who chases hacks. This is for the man who is ready to master identity, because here is a truth the world won't tell you. You will never rise higher than your identity. You do not become successful. You become the man who cannot be denied success. How? So it's your saying you show up when no one claps. You move without needing motivation. You build when it's boring. Pause and you repeat when it hurts. Pause, you execute when others hesitate. And in doing so, you break free from the start-stop cycles that have sabotaged your greatness for years. You end the addiction to hype. You stop waiting for the right time. You step into rhythm, and rhythm steps into results. Greatness is not explosive. It is quiet. It is built in invisible hours when no one sees you practicing, refining, failing, and returning again. The world sees the man who wins, but never the repetitions that made him worthy of the win. The truth is simple, yet uncomfortable. Until your identity aligns with your vision, inconsistency will rob you of your destiny. So don't aim to be motivated, aim to be mastered. Don't strive for excitement, strive for execution. Don't wait for the light to shine. Become the fire that never goes out. This is the blueprint for becoming unstoppable, not through luck, not through talent, but through rhythm, repetition, and ruthless self-discipline. Gentlemen, become the man success cannot ignore. Motivation is a spark, fleeting, emotional, and unreliable. It arrives when it pleases and vanishes without notice. The man who builds his future on motivation builds on sand. But rhythm is different. Rhythm is a force of nature. It is the internal cadence of a disciplined mind. It is not reactive to circumstances. It is proactive in spite of them. Rhythm is the heartbeat of achievement, where motivation depends on how you feel. Rhythm depends on who you are. When a man discovers rhythm, he no longer negotiates with the day. He no longer wakes up and asks, "Do I feel like it?" He acts because it is time to act, not because the conditions are right, or because he is inspired, but because rhythm is stronger than mood. It is the invisible thread that turns discipline into destiny. Rhythm is not sexy. It does not roar, it whispers. It is quiet, consistent, and unnoticed by the masses. But it is the rhythm that sharpens the mind, molds character, and brings mastery. The musician who practices scales daily, the craftsman who hones his edge even when the world sleeps, the thinker who returns to his discipline long after others have quit, these are men governed by rhythm. They are not exceptional because they are motivated. They are exceptional because they are consistent. The average man chases peaks. He lives for highs and is paralyzed in the lows. He is driven by moods, and as his emotions fluctuate, so does his effort. But the man of rhythm is unmoved. He does not ride waves, he walks paths. Motivation may open the door, but it is rhythm that moves you through it. Day by day, beat by beat. The obsession with secrets is the hallmark of the undisciplined mind. Many waste years seeking hidden formulas, ancient codes, or new shortcuts, as if success is locked behind a puzzle only the chosen can solve. But the truth is, there are no secrets. There is only structure. It is not the mystery that holds men back, but their resistance to order. Structure is not confining, it is liberating. It removes the burden of indecision, anchors the mind against chaos, and provides the framework in which excellence can compound. Structure is clarity in motion. It is the architecture of achievement where every task has its place, every action its time, and every day its direction. It does not ask you to be brilliant. It demands you to be aligned. The man with structure does not depend on motivation or inspiration because his path is already built into the rhythm of his life. He knows what must be done, when it must be done, and how to do it. Not because he guesses, but because he designed the system that now guides him. Structure turns goals from vague desires into actionable disciplines. It converts intention into execution. Without it, ambition is merely noise, a scattered impulse easily drowned by distraction. But with it, even modest effort gains momentum, because every small action is aligned with a larger purpose. Men often mistake freedom for the absence of rules, but true freedom is found within intelligent structure. The painter needs the edge of the canvas. The poet needs the boundary of meter. The warrior needs the discipline of training. Without structure, potential rots. With it, potential sharpens into precision. It is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters consistently, intentionally, and with a mind governed by design, not desire. Identity is the foundation upon which all lasting achievement is built. A man may set goals, speak affirmations, or chase success with ferocity. But if his internal self-concept is misaligned with the vision he pursues, he will sabotage himself repeatedly. You do not outperform your identity, you reveal it. In moments of stress, boredom, fatigue, and temptation, a man does not fall to the level of his ambitions. He falls to the level of his beliefs about who he is. To master identity is to become rooted in an unshakable sense of self, forged not by external validation, but by internal conviction. Identity is not about image, it is about integration. It is the alignment of thoughts, actions, and values repeated until they become indistinguishable. The man who sees himself as disciplined does not need to convince himself to act with discipline. He simply does what that identity demands. There is no inner debate because his behavior is no longer separate from his being. Transformation begins not with willpower, but with a new internal definition. A man must choose who he is before he can consistently act like it. Without this clarity, he will forever drift between bursts of motivation and waves of self-doubt. He may rise temporarily, but inconsistency will pull him back into the orbit of his previous identity. Only when he redefines his nature, not just his goals, does he become unshakable. This is not about pretending or performing. It is about becoming. A new identity is not crafted by words alone, but by the quiet repetition of aligned behavior until the new way becomes the only way. The master does not act differently because he forces himself to. He acts differently because he is different. And that difference begins not with doing, but with being. Talent is often praised, admired, even worshipped, but it is never enough. Talent is a gift, but consistency is a decision. A man may be naturally gifted, may possess exceptional intelligence or ability, but without the steady hand of consistency, that gift will rust in silence. The world is full of brilliant men who never fulfilled their potential, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they lacked the discipline to apply themselves daily. Consistency is the bridge between ability and achievement. It is what transforms raw capacity into refined mastery. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is the decision to return, to continue, to press forward with quiet certainty when the thrill has faded and the spotlight has moved on. It does not depend on mood, timing, or convenience. It is not reactive to praise or outcome. It is forged in solitude, where the only witness is the conscience. That is where greatness is rehearsed, not in front of an audience, but in the unseen repetitions that sculpt the mind and spirit. Talent is a spark, but consistency is the oxygen that turns it into flame. The man who shows up every day, whether inspired or exhausted, gains a momentum that talent alone cannot match. Over time, his repeated effort compounds in depth and force, shaping him into something that brilliance without structure could never achieve. Consistency creates reliability, and reliability is the seed of trust, influence, and legacy. The consistent man is not distracted by results because he understands that results are the byproduct of rhythm. He moves with a deeper intelligence, one that respects time, embraces process, and resists the temptation to chase novelty. While others burn out in sprints, he endures through seasons. His path may seem slow, but it is unstoppable because it is sustained by inner command, not external reward. The unseen hours are where destiny is decided. Most men perform only when they are being watched, when the applause is loud, when recognition is near. But it is the man who labors in silence with no audience and no reward who builds the deepest roots. Discipline in the dark is not a performance, it is a practice. It is the daily return to the work that matters, even when it is thankless, unnoticed, and exhausting. That is where separation begins, not in moments of glory, but in moments of grit. The external world is a reflection of the internal pattern. A man who waits for visibility before he acts has already surrendered his power. But the man who disciplines himself when no one is looking, who creates order in private, who refines his habits in obscurity, becomes a force the world cannot ignore. He does not require validation because his validation is embedded in his process. He is not chasing approval. He is mastering execution. The invisible hours contain a spiritual weight. They are sacred in their stillness. What a man does when he is alone reveals the truth of who he is. No applause, no reward, no witnesses, only the confrontation between his higher self and his lesser impulses. To choose discipline in that space is to win a battle most will never even fight. And it is that battle repeated over time that hardens resolve, builds precision, and constructs unshakable confidence. This is not romantic. It is rarely exciting. There is no surge of dopamine, no grand breakthrough. There is only repetition, refinement, and resolve. But through that repetition, something irreversible is formed. A man becomes someone even he can rely on. When others fold from lack of attention or loss of motivation, he remains. He is not driven by noise, but guided by principle. Momentum is a fleeting gift, often mistaken for mastery. It feels powerful, intoxicating, even invincible in the moment, but it fades. Momentum is reactive. It depends on favorable conditions, recent wins, and emotional energy. It gives the illusion of progress while concealing fragility. Mastery, on the other hand, is not influenced by mood, applause, or environment. It is built in deliberate silence, strengthened through repetition, and maintained by an internal code that does not bend to external noise. Mastery requires the surrender of ego. It is not concerned with being seen. It is concerned with being solid. It demands that a man forsake shortcuts, abandon the addiction to novelty, and submit to the humbling rhythm of deliberate practice. While momentum is fueled by enthusiasm, mastery is fueled by commitment. The man who relies on momentum will be disrupted by every setback, delay, or failure. But the man of mastery absorbs these with poise because his foundation is not emotional, it is structural. There is wisdom in understanding that excellence is not an event, but a state of being. It is not achieved in a sprint, but forged in the long, slow grind of repetition. The world honors flashes of brilliance, but history remembers those who endure. The one who endures is not the one who moves fastest when inspired, but the one who continues moving when uninspired. He does not depend on the wind. He becomes the engine. Mastery demands that you show up regardless of outcome, that you refine even when no progress is visible, that you hold the line even when doubt whispers. It is the death of the amateur mindset and the birth of internal authority. It replaces hope with habit, excitement with execution, and chaos with cadence. It is slow, yes, but it is sovereign, and from that sovereignty, all true achievement begins to emerge. Thank you.